Now we're going to move on to part 2, which is the book of Exodus, chapter 20, verses 1 to 17. And I'm going to do something that I've never done before and probably won't do again. I'm going to just not talk about the second reading, which is very short anyway. And I'm going to take these two sections to talk about the Ten Commandments, because it is so important. And for those of us who preach, it's very important to open up these 10, they're called in Hebrew text, the 10 words, the 10 devarim, 10 pronouncements of God about how to live, what it means to live relating to God and to each other. And so I'm going to spend quite a bit of time on it because I think it's so important, okay? The text, as I say, begins in Exodus 20, okay? And it starts, "And God spoke these words, saying," and then we start the text. This is Exodus 20. "I am Adonai your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt from the house of slavery," the house of bondage. Now, these texts, research, particularly recent research, has tended to be able to locate this as a very ancient form of a covenant, and also that the wording is ancient. Does it go back to Moses? There's no reason why it couldn't. Probably there's a Mosaic element or nucleus here that may have been developed a bit, because you can, as we read some of these commandments, you'll see that they are expanded a bit. What is going on here? God has just saved his people, and on that basis he is offering them a covenant. And so keeping the covenant is a response to God's saving act. It's a response of gratitude. Now, before I begin, I might just point out that recent research, say the last 50, 60 years, perhaps a little more, has discovered parallels between the structure of this, in fact the structure of the whole book of Deuteronomy, and what's called Hittite suzerainty treaties. I won't tire you out with that, except to point out that these Hittites began about 18th century BC. They were very strong, 14th and 15th century BC, and they would make treaties with other peoples. And it was always based on what the Hittite king had done for the other one. Now, so the other one then, out of gratitude, would keep this covenant. I have an example here between Mercilis and Dupi-Teshub of Amuru. It starts off, "These are the words of the sun," sometimes sun god. I mean, they have a rather high opinion of themselves. "The great king, the king of the Hatti land, the valiant, the favorite of the storm god, the son of Shupiru-Leumas, the great king and the king of the Hatti land, the valiant." And then it starts. What does it do first? It gives an account of the ways that Mercilis has done well by Dupi-Teshub. "I've done these things for you, and now this is the way you respond." See how important that is? You'll notice in a moment how important that is. "Ziras was the grandfather of you, Dupi-Teshub. He rebelled against my father, but submitted again to my father. When the kings of the Nahasi land and the kings of Kinsah rebelled against my father, Ziras did not rebel. As he was bound by treaty, he remained bound by treaty. My father fought against his enemies. In the same manner fought Ziras." What you're having, I'm not going to read the whole thing. I can give you first an account of all the benefactions my father and I have made towards you. And that is the basis of this covenant. This is a pagan world, and yet you see. So, how does this text of the New Covenant, the Ten Commandments begin? "I, Adonai," that's his name, Elohecha, your God. That's his title. You see? Who brought you out from the land of Egypt, from the house of bondage. That's what I did for you. So now the laws that I give you are designating your response to me. But now they're not going to be about if the king comes after me, you go after him type of thing. These are the 10 basic realities of living a human life. The 10 commandments are all like setting the boundaries. Outside of here, there's no humanity. Inside of here, there's humanity. So my commandment to you, out of gratitude to me, is to be human. To recognize me and to be human to each other. And so, my title, my name, Adonai, my title, your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt, that house of bondage. That's the good thing I did for you. So now, what's the first commandment? There shall not be for you another God, al panai, literally in my face. You worship me alone. I am the one who saved you. Do you see? When we look at the cross, our hearts are moved to want to be more and more obedient to the Word of God, incarnate on the cross, alive, radiant, because of all He's done for us. And you could stop right here in your own reading of the 10 Commandments and make out your own list of what God has done for you and your family. That's the foundation for the obedience, you see. And so then, you see, there's one, the first commandment, there shall not be for you a foreign God, al panai. You see? Against my right, in my face. I'm your only God. Idolatry is making something of ultimate concern. Money, power, pleasure, reputation. This is all idolatry. Or you could sink your attention, into New Age stuff, or worse, something you make of ultimate significance. And it's a rare person that doesn't have something of ultimate significance. But if it isn't the living God, it's idolatry. This is the fundamental commitment. Recognize me for who I am. All the other commitments follow from this one. And that's why, you see, it starts off modeled on these other, which were in other cultures as well around, but most people think the notion of this kind of a covenant comes from the Hittites. So it was around. And this is the framework for these, okay? So that first commandment is, there shall not be for you another God or other gods against my rights. That's all there is. You've only got one God. You've only got one ultimate concern. Now, if we look at our lives, examine our conscience every night, we could start with, what today did I make for ultimate concern? Me, myself, and I. That everybody would like me, that I'd get a raise, that those are concerns, but not ultimate concerns. And when we lose our grasp of worshiping God alone, what happens is precisely, we become idolaters. Once we lose that grasp, not only do we become idolaters, but we run the risk of looking for other forces to help us out. And that's where we get involved in things that have to do with Satan. There's a famous book I have right here on my shelf where a man traces so many of the great rebels against the Christian view of life, of reality. Didn't live long without having relationship with some other powers, because you just can't make it on your own. And so you want power to help you. No, worship God. And you don't have to worry about power, because you have the living, personal, loving God to help you. That's so there's no idolatry of any kind. Money, pleasure, power, reputation, popularity, new clothes, whatever. No. I alone am your ultimate concern. Why? Because I love you, and I'm the only one who ultimately can do anything for you. So that's the first commandment. The second, you shall not make for yourself any kind of idol or any image of the things in heaven above, nor on the earth below or below the earth, in the water under the earth. In other words, don't make any representation. Why? This is why today, even in the Jewish tradition, you see no images. Why? Because we get caught up in the image. That's our God. No image. No image is adequate to me. Therefore, no image. Now, when that law was applied after the incarnation, you see the problem. We can have a picture of God. Jesus. He's God in a human form. So now we can have, but there too, it's not the picture, it's Jesus. And the icons try to mediate that by becoming, as it were, diaphanous. We go through that to touch Jesus, you see? So that's what it's saying. You shall not make a peso, an image, you see? Of any form in heaven, above, earth below, under the earth, and so forth. And then that one goes on, that text, there's a gloss, if you will. It's expanded. That was probably all there was to the original 10 list. You see? You shall not bow down before them or worship them, for I, the Lord your God, am a jealous God, inflicting punishment for their fathers' wickedness on the children of those who hate me, down to the 3rd and 4th generation, but bestowing mercy down to the 1,000th generation on the children of those who love me and keep my commandments. I'll punish to the 4th, but I'll be gracious to the 1,000th. Figure what that means now. That's 70,000 years. Because a generation is 70 years. So, if you obey me and seek me out, I am disposed to be gracious to your descendants for 70,000 years. Isn't that beautiful? 70,000 years. Try to go back. Find out how far you can go. You can't go back 70,000 years. We don't even know. I mean, here we are thinking the world is old because we can go, maybe back, these Hittite treaties, 18, 20, 20 years, 20 centuries. Nothing. 70 centuries. That's wonderful, isn't it? 1,000 generations. And so, that's that commitment. Okay. And you shouldn't do that. Why? Because I'm your God. I've come to you. I've spoken to you. I had you baptized into a Christian family. I've given my life to you. I led you that way into Christianity as an adult. I'm your God. You don't need these other things, who ultimately wind up to be evil spirits anyway. And so, that's the commitment, okay? Who love me and keep my commandments. That's the way the text is read. All right, we're going to stop now, take a break, and then go on with these commandments.